What are we talking about today?
All
Bring up a
right.
topic.
I don't know. I just wanted to introduce you because you film the things and we hear your voice all the time. So there you are, and we do all this work together.
We do. We do a lot of
Yeah,
work
yeah.
together.
So I don't know. Controversial take. We were talking about mastering. You do a bunch of mastering.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody does now, and the tools are actually so good now. I'm not so sure we should be sending out to pro level mastering people anymore because you relinquish control of the final of the mix, and
Yeah.
isn't that just what you want to hear anyway? So that's what I don't understand. Like, and it's good maybe like if you've heard it too much to get somebody else's take
Yeah.
on it, but beyond that, I mean, like you've got God Particle, you've got the Slate stuff, you've got all kinds of limiters, you've got the Massenburg. There's all kinds of shit that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know, like some people, there's a case, I guess, a little bit of width and a little bit of drive that you can get out of analog gear at this point, but it's also not very recallable and not very
Yeah.
usable if the label calls back and says do this again and turn it down 20% or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's like the big. I think the big thing. I personally like to work this way. I think it's a choice at this point, right? I don't think you can achieve anything that you can achieve this way with software, and it's just going to be exponentially better. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of it is workflow. Recalling is
but
just a nightmare.
exponentially means something would be many, many times better. And to me, with people listening to MP3s on their phones and through like a little JBL bean, the exponential thing, I mean, if it's a film that we're going to
Yeah.
see in like IMAX, oh yeah.
No, but like,
you know,
it gets exponentially closer to like what the analog gear is able to produce.
oh yeah.
Outside
yeah.
of like the random factor, but probably that could even be incorporated in algorithms like down the line.
Yeah, no, it's getting better. The one thing that I find that the mastering softwares lack is the ability to adjust dynamics upon input. So what you'll get is parts that are too loud, that are smaller parts because
Yeah.
the limiter's bringing them up. So you have to kind of still be a human to have taste and
Yeah.
pull things back. So when the guitar goes into just the left channel solo, it's not slamming the entire mix like
Yeah.
when the drums are hitting or something like that. And there are AIs and stuff like that have gotten exponentially better
Yeah.
at that in recent times. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people, they're making most of their stuff in Splice and sending it to Lander,
Yeah.
which isn't great. Let's be honest. Like that still has a fucking long way to go. But,
Yeah.
You know, but a person that knows their audio, most of my mixing people and stuff, we all kind of master and do our own thing. So.
Well, I always have a mastering chain on my mix bus because I need to know what it sounds like on an end result at like like loudness level to see, because what you learn is like you slap a bunch of compression and limiting on stuff and then it's like, oh, my vocals are totally buried. Oh, guitars are out of phase.
Oh,
like,
wow, there's
when
10
you-
times more reverb than there
Yeah,
used to be.
yeah. When you spread it out, it's like, oh, look at that. That's totally gone.
Yeah, another big thing that's gone these days that I kind of miss is that drum room sound doesn't have a lot of space in popular music
Yeah.
much anymore. It's a lot of the direct mics. It's a lot of just direct samples. There's not really, I mean, rooms are great and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And they sound awesome. But in big, loud ass, -6 mastered mixes, not hearing a lot of room sounds.
Yeah.
Because it's messy. I mean, and I basically take everything out, under like 200 in the rooms, just because you want some of the space and some of the
Yeah.
the color that it provides. But honestly, guys, I mean, I have guys that we send them drum stuff and they remove the room from the hi-hat. They gate the hi-hat because
Yeah.
there's too much room in it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Not on the mixing, but on the actual mastering.
Yeah.
There's issues with that in the very end when it gets too hot.
But that's also, stuff is like, production now, it's become such an art form almost, and things are so heavily produced. It's not like, oh, you were Beefy Clearo and it's like a 3-piece and the drums can be massive, like you're Nirvana, right?
No,
like
no,
you want a massive drum sound, right? Like, well, it's three instruments, right?
Yeah,
so
so
you
you're
got a lot of
mixing
space.
It's not a K-pop song.
No.
Which is 400 tracks of vocals.
Yeah, and
before
then
you
like
get into it, so.
I don't know how many, like 200 layers of reverse cymbals for like a breakdown, and then just like, so that's also, well, yeah, space, right?
What's really interesting that I found that I didn't know about, like a lot of EDM artists, when they're working on a drop now to
Yeah.
make shit the craziest, there's dudes that will spend 16 hours on like 16 bars. just in production layers and in stuff coming in and out, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and sicker, and they'll be on it for a whole day and a half. And finally we have these 16 bars done, and I'm like, bro, for it to go and get loud, but there's stuff to it. There's nuance, there's detail to it. That if you're an experienced listener to that style of music, you're going to get a lot more out of it because they're spending time on it. It's not just the Chemical Brothers where they just threw some shit on there and said it was.
But okay. That's when I was living in Berlin. I was doing the DJ thing, when I was really impressed with the elite like level DJs, they're musicologists. Like their knowledge of records is unbelievable. These guys are like libraries. They just know every sample they've been through. It's mostly dudes that were just losing their minds going to record stores and peeling through the shelves and just kind of like they pride themselves as like finding the one recording of Boohoo Banton and just breaking it down in a program. And like
what I miss is the guys that used to chop up hip hop on the sampler.
Yeah.
Like on the MPC.
Yeah.
Because that's like a dying art now too.
Yeah.
Because of the DAW. You know what I mean? The sampler, they used to have to go in and find the perfect section, put it on a pad, and then adjust how much of it. And then you had to play it in time into the sequence. And it would kind of self-quantize by a 16th note or whatever. And you could get like beats and stuff together that way. But that's really kind of dying now too. You can buy softwares that do it, but it's getting easier to do in the computer.
Yeah, well, now you just put in a tractor and
and tractor's more like that. I mean, honestly, but there's just the sequencing is incredible.
That was really cool. I remember in France there was two really popular DJs that were artists. They did features, but Cut Killer, one of the guys, was like, and he was unbelievable at that stuff. Yeah, that's true. That's a dying art form now. They've all just kind of grown into being. Well, like those hip hop DJs, they're producers now, really.
And all EDM producers are DJs are producers now, largely. I mean, they might use the vocals from a sample or somebody else's song.
Who was like the last hip hop DJ that you remember had really like a hit record, like RJD2 maybe? And that's also like very questionable because that's super underground.
Yeah.
No one who's watching this knows who the fuck RJD2 is.
What's funny is that I still listen to Mixmaster Mike on K-Rock, like on the weekends, that was working with Beastie Boys, forever. And he still chops it up. He still does some of the scratches, but a lot of that stuff is just, it's kind of played out now.
No, because you don't need to do it anymore.
You don't need to do it anymore. And there's no real, the decks, it's all digital now.
Yeah.
I mean, and Serato's made shit a lot easier for people too, which is, it's great. I mean, if you have to DJ at parties, Serato rules. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, everything goes into musical mode. Everything goes, you adjust all the tempos, all the keys. It will do it over a certain amount of bars. You can't even detect that you're in a different song. It's fucking rad now. It's come so far from the early DJ.
But I wonder now that kind of the thirst for going through records and finding samples, and all the samples are in Splice or they're in like centralized libraries that everyone is sharing. Is that part of everything feels kind of a little exhausted because we've ran through so many samples of stuff that have been recorded? Like
we have. I mean, but it's weird though now. I mean, imagine getting a sample from a record anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what would you have to do to it to make it workable?
Actually, it's funny that you say that. Like, maybe I should just at the end of this thing put a picture that I have, like a cassette to like a ADDA cassette, right? Like you could put a cassette and it converts it like high def to Pro Tools early, and it's one of Kelly's homies gave us that, Dave, because he was in film. And I think like they used it on some Bruce Springsteen shit, like at that level, but it's worthless now. But it's like a gigantic machine with like DB25 pins that go into and it's like, so that's like how, you wanted to sample something digitally. Like that's how fucking complicated it was. You need this $30,000 machine to run your cassette into it, which is pretty cool. Like I like having that thing around, but I can't say that I use it much. It's like,
so Matt, you should talk to me about tape, because you've recently had a lot of experience with mixing, like, a session, the two bus out to fucking tape. What do you see that's different about it that you think makes a substantial difference when you come out of the DAW into that?
I don't know if you could say that it makes a substantial difference, but I could definitely say that there's a sound to it. There's a sound that you're accustomed to that you don't realize that you are. if you listen to any records that have been done in the 90s or even the early 2000s, it's like that. Like I think if you train your ear to hear saturation, you recognize tape records. And I can't say that they're better, because objectively I think with like the converters, like we have really good converters there, and you go the chain with the console, the converters and the clarity and everything. Like, objectively, the DA is probably cleaner, but there's like a real sound. Like, it's more pleasing to like my ears, at least. I don't know. There's something that
I've
does.
noticed. It seems like, to me, it feels like. Do you remember on DBX the over easy compression?
Yeah.
Do you remember on that?
Yeah.
Like, there was something about that which, that's just its own sound.
Yeah.
And when you ran drums through the DBX compressors and you ran them to tape, it would always have a certain amount of, like, it just felt softer. Like, the compressor didn't feel like it was working so hard. And what I found in the computer too is that, like, say you're using an emulation of said compressor, you have to run it way different and way harder, compensating for the in and out of the machine and, you know, the latency and everything else like that. And also the amount of effect and everything they sampled is a different reference point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, if it's a 70s 1176 versus an 80s 1176 or something like that, big differences, you know.
I also think these things, like, there's not a single one that sounds the same.
There's not. And that's another thing that people don't realize. Like, we had a Blue Stripe at a studio I worked out, which is a very expensive compressor.
Yeah.
I think they're going for like $8,000.
Yeah.
It sounded like shit. The black one we had sounded way better.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to use the Blue Stripe. And the only thing I heard a substantial difference on was for rooms, it was nice, like to smash the shit out of a room. And it was nice for, like, female lead vocals. It had a certain sheen across that. But that was the only thing we ended up selling it because once we got the UAD plugins and things like that, it was so close and we could put it on every channel.
Yeah.
Why would we keep it? But there are certain ones, though, where, like, on input, it's hard to beat 1176. It's hard to beat an LA2A.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat fucking just a straight up distressor in some cases. I mean, like, optical compression's a great thing. And
like, I would say, like, what I find is when I do the mixes, you know, when I use all of those compressors and those, like, the real outboard gear, the pricey ones, and we've done like a pretty good job at like sorting through a bunch of like different versions of the same model to get the ones that we thought were functioning the best. And it's like I have to do way less to get way more results. I don't think I couldn't accomplish that using plugins or software. It's just like I'd have to stack the channels and tweak.
You have to adjust input.
And I don't like that. Like, I feel like I get lost. It's just, for me, like, it's not part of my workflow. I get lost in this. And I'm like, and then it's like, I find myself going backwards a lot where, like, I have to shut the whole thing off. I was like, wait, what did the original recording sound like? What did I like about, like, the tracking?
Before I had 9 plugins.
Yeah. Like, so that's kind of where I stand with that. And then it's funny, like, that's, you know, to come back to the tape thing, and something that I learned about those tape records is they used to run that shit really hot. Like, because they would use, they're like, oh, this was kind of the consensus was that, oh, but who cares? It's going to go like smashed into the tape, and the tape would roll off like naturally all of the stuff that you really don't want.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Like, that's something that I've learned and that I've experimented with here to try and
the only problem with that, though, is if you ate up too much of the transients,
you
could get it very flat sounding.
Yeah.
Too. That was an issue. I remember mixing the 2-inch back in the day. Like, it's probably like fucking 96 or something like that. And yeah, you could get it too flat.
Yeah.
If you hit it real hard, you just start getting it. You'd be squaring shit off.
Yeah.
In the tape too. So I mean, it can happen. But yeah, I think there's good to be said for always, and it really comes down to this: your workflow. For you, it's more like you like playing with guitar pedals.
Yeah.
You like doing stuff like that. I like writing stuff in the computer. I don't even use wah pedals anymore. I straight up write them in on my computer and make a filter and do the whole 9 yards.
You know, like, if you live in a world of efficiency, and it's abundantly clear to me now that you need to be like this unbelievable, you know, surgeon-like specialist at something, and this is just the way that I'm efficient. Like, I don't know, if I turn a knob, I hear it differently, that I could pinpoint stuff out much faster. Just like sitting in front of the computer, and it doesn't feel like playing music to me either. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is a lot of gear in here, and not everyone could afford to work this way, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
especially not me.
Yeah,
But,
even though like these places are kind of, they're all like, sadly they're like, most of them are like not really commercially viable anymore. Like I know a lot of people who like the East West Village and all, like it's all like backed by Riyadh, and like it's kind of like you don't, but which is sad, but or it's owned by, like, I think John Mayer and Bruno Mars just bought out one, like where did he go? Did he go to, like, they just bought one big space, and it's like, and like theirs now.
I don't know. I heard they're closing up Capitol Studios too.
Oh
recently.
wow, I didn't know that.
No, I heard that, like, they boarded it up or
They
something.
sold the record plant. I know that also Sound City not Sound City, Sunset Sound went to like a private owner now. But yeah, so it's like, I think it's sad that you're not really going to make music this way unless you're like a gigantic artist, and then it really just becomes like a hotel business, because it's a luxury service, right? It's like, well, here, this is a great space for me to be creative and capture. I remember meeting the guy from Electric Lady, and he said, D'Angelo, who just passed, so it's kind of relevant, it said, like, he spent like, they booked out the studio, and he spent like 6 weeks in there with a Ouija board trying to summon Jimi Hendrix. Right? Like, I mean, that's like music for you in a nutshell. That was most of most of the time was spent with a Ouija board trying to summon Jimi Hendrix, and then he made the record in like 2 weeks. So
I have a question for you about this.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. On when you're doing vocal takes with somebody, I have a hard time with people that just roll through takes, where they're like, "Give me the verse 6 times."
Yeah.
And then the, Pro Tools engineer or who's ever, like, producers cleaning it up, they go through and they take the best sections and piece that together. And for me, that's almost impossible to do. Do you do it that way, or how do you do it?
No.
I
Maybe I have an unconventional approach to this, but I don't look for, I look for performance almost like acting. To me, it's like music is the business of conveying emotion. Like, make me believe your story. I don't give a flying fuck if it sounds good. It needs to sound right for the part. So I'm not like, sometimes we get warmed up, throw some stuff at the wall. But to me, it's like, dig deep emotionally. What's like, tell me your story. What's the journey? Like, how do you feel? Like, if you got to go out there and you fucked up or cry or whatever, like, I think that's kind of like the beauty of making records. And this is why part of me doesn't like all of this obnoxious perfection, right? That we do, everything is cleaned up and tightened up. There's no, I like shit raw. Like, it's got to be authentic, and it's heartfelt.
Well, my biggest problem too is, like, I fucking hate headphones. Headphones to me is a horrible way to listen to and experience music. And I'm
so on board.
I find most singers sing worse because of headphones.
Yeah.
Because it makes them sharp. It makes them overly concerned. They get too detail oriented. They freak themselves out.
Yeah.
If we just crank up the speakers and you turn this mic around that doesn't really has a lot of rejection and shit, get the performance.
Yeah.
Man, the record sounds better.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and whatever you have to do to get in that headspace, I'm sure, like, rappers and stuff do that too.
Yeah.
They hold the mic. A lot of my metal guys can't perform without performing.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to scream and buckle over and do all their growls and fucking all that crazy shit. And it's interesting because it really does make that much of a difference. If they were just sitting there listening to the drum set in their ear, trying to play to it, it wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't sound as fun. So I don't know.
It's true. I've seen also, because in here we could put a whole band, and I've seen people do way better, just like being in it, and just they're more loose. I think they're just more in the moment, and yeah, it's true. I mean, I like, that's another, that's like a whole other conversation in and of itself. But the headphone listening experience, I fucking hate. Like, I hate this bipolar kind of approach to listening. Like, to me, I want to, you go to a show, the band, it's like, it's in front of you, stereo, right? Like, it's and AirPods and all of that stuff. I mean, that's just, I don't vibe with it at all.
I mean, and half the time, half the headphones in wrong or something.
Yeah.
And
if it's too hot and if their mix is not right, then it's like you hear yourself too hot, then you're flat. You hear yourself like you're overreaching, you're sharp. So it's just like a weird, and then too much reverb, you're too loose. It's such a weird, and we have the hearback systems where you could make your own mix, and it's still, and I'm a singer and I do my own stuff, and then I'm just like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I was like, oh, but it's too loud, so I'm backing off. Yeah.
9/10 of the time, stuff sounding bad is equal to something being too loud.
Yeah.
Or out of whack. Usually it's the bass or the vocals or snare drum or something that like you don't even realize because it's supposed to be loud in the mix or very big and present kind of thing. You won't realize it. But when it's off, 9/10 of the time, something has to get turned down. In fact, I have very good friends I send stuff to. All the time they come back to me, they're like, vocals and snare drums too loud. All the time. And I go, okay, time to fix that. Because I was just going for detail on it. And I was like, that's got to be the biggest, most present thing that everybody can hear the most of. And that's where most of the fidelity of the tracks come from. So really hyper focused on that, getting that to come through. But sometimes, and you and I have both made this mistake before, we're too focused on every little detail of everything. And everything just ends up fighting.
But and that's something I've noticed with really good mixers. They mix at really low level because you have a much better understanding of the big picture
of the relationship between us.
If you're tweaking the volume like super high, then you have, it's like it brings it up like really close, so you could lean in and hear details that you don't hear, like so you kind of lose
the perspective
of the balance and how everything interacts. Like it's the low volume thing is a good trick for sure.
That's true. All the best mixers I know, I can't even listen to it. They have it so quiet.
Yeah.
I can barely hear it.
It's like they also, it's like talking volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mix it like 85 dB.
Yeah. And then you're in there with a metal band and they're like, I remember one time we had it so loud, like the speaker it almost fell off the stand because they're like, I'm in there with earplugs, like when they're listening. Because I can't be in the room. It's so hard.
And another bit of advice I'd like to tell people, if you're going to be tracking metal drums and guitars, you want a separate pair of monitors for tracking that are dead as fuck. That's not going to hurt your ears, because if you're going to spend 12 hours in a day listening to chug, it's going to hurt. And there's going to be pain. Part of the pain is what's associated with the music, about it being aggressive. So dial it in on the NS10s or whatever you got. Then move out to something that's a little smoother and a little more nice to listen. That's I actually think that's why Genelecs exist, is for loud tracking, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because whenever you put something on those, it's like, everything sounds great. It's all nice and smooth and beautiful.
It's true. I like the one, the Neumanns have like a really detailed kind of like upper mid section. And I remember listening to some metal tracks and like some Neumanns, and I was like, wow, that's crazy aggressive.
Yeah.
It's unbearable to like cymbals and guitars. It's just like, oh my God, that's so aggressive.
Anytime it's like newer metal or dubstep or something, it's just on any of those speakers where it's the hyped upper mids.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
But if you listen to a Bonnie Raitt record on it, awesome.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. Well, what would be, I have one question for you. Like if you're getting started, what's your like entry level setup for like a kid who's watching this, who's like, okay, I want to make records?
I don't even think you have to get crazy anymore.
Yeah.
Just get $1,000 interface, get a couple Shure mics, get a DAW. And here's the one thing, whatever you get, learn everything you can about it. There's so many people that do so much with so little that I've seen. A lot of people I work with, they're recording drums in their fucking kitchen with crappy condenser mics from fucking like 1995.
Yeah.
And their shit sounds way better than shit I've got from Sunset Sound.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know why. Maybe they had the world's shittiest engineer there that day. I don't know. Some kid from MI. I don't know what it is. But the people that have experience and learned everything about all the tools, how to EQ stuff, how to optimize placement, and then how to go through their DAW and like know every part of your DAW, know what it's capable of. Every day, go to a page in a little tutorial manual and read one thing. You'd be, fuck, I never knew it did that. Who knew this printed sheet music? There's a whole bunch of shit you can figure out where every day, if you're constantly gaining knowledge, you're doing yourself a favor. Go watch a 20-minute YouTube video about your DAW or microphones or preamps or whatever, and learn something every day, and then try it out in practicality, and you'll just get better. You don't need a lot of gear anymore to do it.
No, it's true. And like be really intentional about where you're trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's also what I've learned. Like I had to I had to rethink the way that I worked when I had all the gear. And actually, I used to kind of kick it. I was just like, make sure that it sounds really good when you're tracking, and then I'll use all this stuff later in the mixing process. But now I use it a lot in the recording process. I see it as production. Really, it was like, okay, if I could track something and it's like 70% of the way there by the time we're done, and then I could just send it out and someone else could mix it. That's where I'm happy with. It has an identity, like a sonic identity already before it leaves this place.
Another thing that I learned early on, and this was from, believe it or not, Guitar Hero, was people started going through Guitar Hero like in 2009 or whatever, and they were turning down everything except the solo like parts. So there'd be like an Alice in Chains solo vocal, an Alice in Chains solo drums, solo, because they would stem it out for the master so you could adjust it in Guitar Hero so you could hear things at different volumes. So they'd mute everything else and just put the drums through. And then I started to actually hear what real drums sounded like. These really big drums weren't quite as big as we thought they were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the vocal maybe had more effect than we thought there was. Maybe there was less effect than we thought there was in the final mix. And hearing something, how it really exists, and like with AI, you can make stems of stuff now, hear things more isolated. Get familiar with how it's supposed to sound on your favorite records, and then start dialing in your gear and your skill set to what those records sound like. And go with stuff you like. You don't have to make music you don't like. Find something you do like, emulate that, do the best version of that. And that really helped. I mean, being able to hear how many taps are on a delay from a long, heavy sung part that I wasn't even perceiving because it was evaporated into cymbals and synths and stuff like that. How much was there? It made my life a lot easier and things a lot clearer for me. So also learning the amount of bullshit that goes on with records, where I was like, oh, so Nicky Sixx never played any bass.
Yeah.
Not on Kickstart My Heart, he didn't. On an arpeggiator, like literally like stuff like that. You start to learn what those things are and the tricks that people do and employ to get better sounds. And but it doesn't take much. Start off and learn. I would say the other thing too, decent set of speakers.
Yeah.
Just get some fucking Yamahas or some KRKs or something decent.
Actually, like the JBLs are good too.
JBLs are good, yeah.
Like
very
at like an entry level price point, the JBLs are surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and there's nothing you can't do on those. The only thing that you can't get kind of out of whack if you don't have one is a sub. You do need at some point before you send out a master to monitor what's going on with the
that's
sub.
the most that I hear from people like amateur mixers, I guess you could call it, if you want to call them that. Their low end is a nightmare, probably just because their room is not tuned.
And they're not hearing it in solo on a sub where they can solo it up and listen to it. That's a really important part because low end management to me is like separate than the whole rest of the mix.
Yeah.
Like there's not very much down there, and what's down there is pretty abbreviated and has to all get smashed and stay pretty even.
Yeah.
Most of the time for it to sound modern and hot, you know what I mean? And I mean, even stuff like all these drummers are always putting like bottom mics on toms and out mics on kicks. And I'm like, bro, you're using this all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, you can to make the tone initially.
Yeah.
But like a lot of that's just getting in the finals. So I mean, too much low end is exactly that. It's too much low end, and there's also too much high information that can get crazy. But just learning to manage that. I think you can figure that out. Cheap sub, cheap speakers.
Yeah.
Anything that you can monitor, with decently and hear details on the record.